Okay, so we're working on some forcible entry today. Today we're going to be doing some conventional forcible entry, and that's forcing your typical inward and outward swinging doors, whether it's residential or commercial, using a set of irons. First we're going to show you just the basic techniques, and then we're going to work on a few simple finesse things.
What we're looking at here is what we're going to call an inward swinging door. The reason we call this an inward swinging door, in this case, obviously, this door opens up to the outside air. However, if this door was on the front of a structure, it would be opening in towards the structure. Next, we look at the door to figure out what are we dealing with. One, we have no hinges exposed, which is beginning to tell us that we have an inward swinging door. Also, you'll notice that the door itself is recessed into a jammer frame. This is also a very good indication that the door is inward swinging.
So before we get into the actual forcible entry, we need to talk a little bit about door control. So door control for an inward swinging door is fairly simple. We just use a simple piece of webbing as a control device, make a lark's head around the doorknob to help us maintain control of that door. Another thing we want to talk about is body position. So if we've got an inward swinging door, even though I have control of the door, I don't want to stand directly in front of this opening, because when I open it, if there's any products coming out, they're going to come directly at me. A better position to take for this door is to be on this side of the door. So now I'm on the same side as the handle, the opposite side of the hinges. That way, when I open this door, I'm not directly in the path of whatever might come out of there. I also am maintaining my control of the knob, so if I don't like what's coming out of there, I can just pull it closed real quick. Now the goal of forcing an inward swinging door is to use the concave side of the Halligan right here, or that inside curve, to hook around the inside of the frame. And that will act as your fulcrum, and then you'll use the Halligan as a lever to lever that door open. We're going to start off today with our inward swinging door. As Pete said, we've got no hinges exposed, so we know this is inward swinging. So it's a four-step process. First we're going to shock the door, then we're going to gap the door, and then we're going to set the tool, and then we're going to force the door. So the first thing is the shocking, and that's when we're going to come up and hit the door at 3 points. And the reason for that is, one, typically that can force a weaker door. Two, it'll tell us where our locking devices are. If we have like a Fox lock that locks at the top and the bottom, or some other similar locking devices, and there's no give when we hit up at the top, that's going to tell us there's a lock there. Same at the bottom. Typically you're going to only have your locking device right in the middle. So that's part of our size up. Now there's a couple things about gap. One of the first things I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with my adze end, and I'm just going to rock it down and up. If I'm on this end, it'll be up and down. Reason for that is we want to go onto the spike end, not too far up on it because it'll just pull right out of the door. But since it's more stable, we want to get our initial break that direction, and then a little more break this direction. That just breaks up the area around here and gets you a little more gap to work with. Now the only problem we sometimes run into is that if we try and initially go in the right direction, we're not going to have enough room, because this is typically going to be a really tight fit. So we're going to flip the fork around so that we can get in and around that door. Then we're going to make our gap. Then we're going to flip the tool the right way to force, and we'll demonstrate that right now.
Okay, one of the important parts about being the axeman here is, one, you need to prepare yourself to be able to operate in low visibility. One of the first things we'll talk about is orientation of the axe while we're striking. Notice how I hold it at a vertical stance, thus allowing a greater area for us to aim at. Because we have a horizontal surface this way, we're creating the vertical area here to keep the catch with. And then now I can strike forward, and I can be relatively inaccurate and still keep me and my Halligan man safe.
Strike!
Now notice, after I've completed my strike, I let my axe head come to rest on the tool. Now if for some reason we are operating in a limited visibility environment, that's going to tell my Halligan man that I have positive contact and am oriented to the way the tool is situated. So if he changes position by going out this way, I can change with him, and he knows that when I made that positive contact after a strike, I'm ready for another strike, and he is in a safe area.
Strike. Strike. Gap.
Now I'm going to move forward and use the blade end of my axe drive in as best I can. Sometimes it's going to help to use a couple palm strikes to get set in. The whole purpose here is to maintain this gap so he can pull his tool, reorient, and then stick again. Once he's achieved purchase,
release.
He'll apply a little bit of pressure. You'll feel the axe head come loose. That's when you're going to come around and be ready for more striking.
Strike. Strike. Now the way to tell that we've got the Halligan in far enough is to put your thumb in the notch of the fork and then put 1, 2 glove fingers along the fork end, and your finger should just reach the edge of the jamb. Okay, so when I go to force, I'm going to change my hand orientation just a little bit. I'm going to make it so that my knuckles aren't exposed. Otherwise, when I go to force this, I'm going to bang my knuckles against the door. I want basically to go sort of an open palm fashion. Just be careful not to drop the Halligan when you do this. Then I'm simply pushing towards the door using my arms and my legs. Now the important thing is, once that door swings open, we're not necessarily going to know the atmosphere behind the door, so we're going to want to control it as soon as possible, whether you have a hose strap on the doorknob, or you can also just reach around with the adze end, grab the door, and bring it close towards you. Now if that initial force doesn't quite get you enough gap to open it, so then you're going to go with the adze end in behind the door, and now you've got that much more leverage to work with. Hit, hit, gap, release, hit, hit, forcing. Sometimes we may be operating in a narrow hallway where the axe doesn't have enough room to get in here and really do his job. So what we've done is we've modified our Halligan a little bit. As you see here, we've ground this notch in the shoulder of the fork end. So now he's going to be able to slide his axe along the tool, and he's got a nice firm contact point right there. And that really tightens up the space that we need to operate. Hit, 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 forcing. Now we're going through a technique that's called the baseball swing, and this works a little better on doors that aren't quite as secure, like a residential wood door. The ideal goal is to get your pike buried into the frame, and then you're simply going to lever down on the adze end to force the door open. Now you want to go as close to the most secure locking device as possible. Here it's the deadbolt.